Here in this primitive river bottom wilderness in southern Arkansas, along with deer, duck, crane, and beaver, lurks a creature that walks upright. Whether it is a man, a monster, or a myth, no one really knows. What we do know is the people around Fouke, Arkansas say they have seen such a creature nearly 250 times since 1954. And that this creature, whatever it is, emits one of the most terrifying sounds ever recorded.
Welcome back to Arkansas Bigfoot, everybody. Great to see you today. Well, I know a lot of you years and years ago got your first introduction to Bigfoot by either watching the Patterson-Gimlin footage, or some of you going to the theaters or drive-ins at the time and watching the Legendary Boggy Creek. Well, today we're a stone's throw away from that area. Back with our good buddy Lyle today at some of his properties down here in the southwest corner of Arkansas. We're going to explore around for a little bit today and see what we see and put some different things out while we're out on our adventure, and want you to come along and let's have fun with it today. Rachel has requested that I try not to put her on camera too much right at the moment because
I'll get it over with.
I'm
in drowned rat mode.
It's been raining buckets all morning. It's probably about 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon right now.
Yeah.
And we've caught a window of opportunity to come out and explore. Right now we are on our way back to an area that we visited the last time. It's a big ravine, and we're going to set the little waterproof camera out there and just let it run while we're doing the rest of our exploring today, and collect it up later tonight and see if there's anything on it.
A lot of ground here to cover.
A lot of ground here to cover, and this is just one small portion of it. After a while we're going to go across the road and look at another section of it. We came back just about 100 and some yards down this trail earlier while it was still raining, and saw some pretty interesting geometric structures and a few possible footprints. When we get back down there to them, I'll point those out for you. Yeah, the overgrowth is kind of tight right now, but there's a few of them back in there. There's one we found just a little while ago that's down here on the right that is really interesting. It looks like some people might describe it as a watching point. Some people might describe it as a ambush point where they'd sit and watch for deer or other animals coming down a trail.
A lot of structures here.
As I said, you can hear the rain hitting the leaves above our head. Earlier we were standing here and I could hear what sounded like whispers off to the this side of us. Alright, so this is one of the spots that we found earlier that we wanted to show you. It's kind of interesting. Like I said, some people describe it as a watching point, some people describe it as an ambush point. You can see where it's been like this for a little while. Got that bend on that live tree there, and then a small is that arch or more like a teepee or some type of little structure right there. But it's built up in a brushy ring around it. We've found these in different locations before, but it's pretty interesting when you come across them. I'm going to see if I can weave my way back into here for a little closer look. But you'll usually see where they've done a bunch of bends out in front, and then there'll be a spot behind it, like a sitting spot, and then more brush built up behind it. It's just like I said, either a watching post or a ambush point or something along that line. If you remember the first time we came down and visited with Lyle, he was telling us a incident that happened at the double wide that he stayed in, and one night he and his wife were sitting there and heard noises outside and sounded like one of the big guys out there, and then eventually later into the night felt one slap the side of the trailer. That this area has a long history of reports of activity and sightings. You know, most everyone's familiar with the Falk incident in the early 70s, but there were newspaper reports back in the 40s and 50s of different sightings and encounters and footprints found, and this area is rich in folklore and history with all of it. You know, we had spent some time down on the Sabine River on the Texas side, and there were groups that would go out all the time up and down through there and had pretty good sightings and reports and incidents. Seems like this whole system up and down through here, through the river bottoms and hills that feed this tri-state area, are just abundant. Well, this was another interesting area that we saw earlier. I wanted to point this one out to you as well. From back here on the lane, you could see all kinds of geometric leaners and structures put together. It kind of resembles that first place that I showed you with all the angles and like a teepee framework. Got everything pushed down around. This might be another sentinel station. You know, finding one is, you know, you can write it off as random. Nature did that, but when you start finding them in groups like this and they all start showing the same exact similar appearance, it doesn't take much of a stretch of imagination to realize that these have been created and they're not just a natural droop or a natural fall.
The other thought I have about that you just showed, this is what we picked up as sort of like a nursery area for them, because we were blocked the last time at night with this same sapling.
You can see
so I wonder if they don't sit over here and
kind of watch and guard that area. And that's a good point to bring up. When we did the first video down here, we had made a walk around this loop in the daytime, and that pine tree was standing up. And an hour and a half, 2 hours later, we came back out with the night camera, and as we came around this bend, that pine tree had been pushed down here across this lane.
It seems like it was closer to the tree line blocking that path, but I'd have to double check.
They didn't kill it. It's still alive. It's kind of unusual that all of these structures or leaners or things are all on the same side of the trail. When you look out through the other, you know, it's kind of like they just leave it the way that it is, the way nature makes it. Now, do we veer off to the right or to the left, Lyle?
Keep going straight.
There's the crow.
I should kind of say too, normally I wouldn't recommend that most people get out and randomly try to connect with different families or tribes. Our situation's just a little bit different because of Anku. I feel like Patone, the one here, knew his father best. He does know Anku also, but he's an elder, he's older as well. And I interpret it as a gift in being able to communicate with more than one group, but it seems like they either are very familiar with each other, feel like they can trust each other with us or us with them. But normally you do want to be a little bit cautious about seeking out a variety of areas or people.
I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. That's here, right. But I had to stop Lyle. He was getting ready to step up on there. But look right there on the hump. Now, we haven't been back any farther than that last structure that we showed you today. But you can see what looks like a little tiny young one.
Little tiny toes.
In the heel back there. It's probably about 8 inches, 9 inches long.
Very young.
So if that was kind of a, like we said, a nursery area for the younger ones to be in, you'd expect to find smaller tracks like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've just got your regular boots on, so we're going to stomp the water and let you kind of skirt your way around.
Okay. I don't think it make a difference anyway. I think you're wet anyway.
I would say the rain's done for a little while anyway. All of the mosquitoes and horseflies came out in full force.
Pick your poison.
I just step in another. See, there's the back end, and there's the front end. Short, but it's broad. Alright guys, I wanted to point this area out to you. We're at an intersection of the trails here, and the direction I'm pointing the camera leads back off into that nursery area, and you can see the thick tangle, but what looks like a trail running off in behind that. I wanted to show you this beauty here. This arch was not here the last time, and it is monstrous. Runs all the way up.
You get a better view on this side.
And tied in down there. Let me come around the other side so you can see. But there are pressed down places that could be possible tracks running up into that, but that looks like another area like those first ones that we showed you, where everything has been kind of pushed down and around to make a sitting spot.
You look straight ahead of you.
There's a big tree break.
There's a tree break about 3 foot off the ground. Just
Yeah, I
90
see
degrees.
that.
The tree break makes part of the ice. Gorgeous.
Now look here on the ground all around this. This has had something walking. You got all these leaves pressed down.
Catch. You okay? You alright?
But that is probably as big around as my wrist. You know, that's not a little fella. That you see down here on the ground where I haven't stepped on, you can see places that look like footprints all around this.
Big one.
It looks like a female.
So we are on the other section of property right now, kind of looking at some of these little foot trails running off through the woods. Seeing some arches and breaks as we go along. I think we're gonna go back out onto the regular grass lane for right now and go a little deeper into it and see what we see. There's all kinds of stuff pushed and leaned and broken right here. How are you feeling off of that?
It's more a travel spot. Like, they come in and out here.
We've got about 6 little foot lanes coming right into this.
There's several arches and
Well, that looks familiar, just like the other side that we were on.
it's all the way up. Big ol' X right here.
Yeah.
On the bridge. I think it's a butt. That's a foot. It's a big foot.
Well, that is how they got their name, right?
Right?
Yeah, it's hard to see in the pine straw, but yeah, that's every bit of what, 24, 26 inches?
It's pretty close. Yeah.
We found one over here last time, what, 21 inches?
Well, normally anytime we come into a new set of woods, we try to bring some type of little treat or gift. The last time on the other section, Lyle and Rachel had left some apples and peanut butter, or just apples. And this time we just brought a handful of apples and a few little peanut butter cups and a couple cans of sardines.
And I brought a feather for Patome.
So we're kind of looking around for a good spot to leave that for them. So like I said, this is a completely different section than where we were before. There's sometimes you just have to look the opposite direction in order to see the direction. I don't know how else to say that. It's like spinning Wendersons. Everything is backward from the way that you perceive it. And when you stop looking directly at it and start looking at it from the side, it becomes very clear. I think this is where we're going to leave the gifts for right now. Kind of a thank you for allowing us to come into the space today. This is probably the highest vibrational point that we've picked up on thus far.
There's a few good spots. It's over here. I see it. Right in front of you. If you walk straight forward.
Right there where the trees.
Where the X is. Just watch these vines. A lot of garden.
So today it's just something simple, a few apples and little cups of peanut butter and a couple cans of sardines. We had looked at a couple other spots that just felt extremely elementally protected, for lack of a better way to describe it. It's not that they were bad spots to leave anything, but it seemed like it was more oriented toward the other things that are in the unseen realm. When someone says they're standing in a place that they can feel all the eyeballs on them, this is that spot. Like I said, we're just going to keep this simple. Just a small little thank you for letting us come back and look around for a while today. We're going to go explore a few other spots and then go retrieve that camera. And we will see you in just a minute. sun is setting on southwest Arkansas. We're heading back into the woods to do a little night visit. See if we can hear any vocals or catch any kind of eye shine. We'll see you in a few minutes. Alright, we're getting about close to dark, and I just wanted to show you a few of the things that we're going to try tonight. Instead of out here walking around, I've got the voice recorder and that microphone hooked up on this little tripod. So we have got it pointed out here at the deeper part of the woods, and we're just going to let that run while we're here tonight. And then behind me, facing off the direction behind where we're going to sit, I've got the regular Sony camera on night mode, with the IR lights hooked up to it, and we're just going to watch the ravine that drops off down in behind where we're going to sit in the chairs. We're not going to come out and stomp around and try to, find where anything is at. We're going to do it the opposite. Just sit and have a normal, casual hangout in the dark and see if it piques their curiosity, and if anything will come up close enough to either be, heard on the recorder, or maybe something seen. So that's what we're going to try. It's almost dark. Alright, so it's probably almost too dark to see this, but that's the Sony camera with two IR lights and a microphone. And when it gets completely dark out here, we're going to fire that up so it's pointing out that direction down over that little drop off. Seems to be a area that has a lot of foot traffic. There's a trail down there that is just beaten down to almost bare dirt. So anyway, we're going to let that run while we're hanging out in the lawn chairs and see if anything happens.